everyone. Welcome back to Two Guys with Questionable Credentials with your hosts, Adam and Tom. Tom, how are you doing?
I'm all right. In a previous episode, Adam put a peek behind the curtain and talked about how, with our busy lives, we kind of record one or two in a row, and this time was extra special because I had to sneak out for a haircut and rush back because, content stops for no one.
You know what would make things a lot easier if we had transporters.
So, what are we talking about today, Adam?
Well, today we're diving in again to our world of Star Trek. Last episode we talked about people, and today we're kind of getting into the machines a little bit. So, not exactly sure where the discussion is going to go. We're going to kind of leave it wide open, but we're going to talk about the mainstream canon ship designs, the ships themselves, trying not to go down a rabbit hole. We'll see how things go, but
no promises.
No promises, but we are actually going to make sure that we're going to leave it all open for Federation Starships that appear in any of the series. And the movies out there. So, I guess we can talk about our favorites.
Okay.
First.
Why don't you start? You usually ask me to start first, so.
Oh, that's true. And I was it's more or less it's kind of hard to kind of narrow down exactly what your favorite ship design is because there's they're all similar in a lot of ways, but if I had to pick, I can't exactly just pick one, but my kind of two favorites that I kind of like the most are the Enterprise A or Enterprise refit that appears anything Star Trek the Motion Picture. Any of the appearances of the Constitution class refit Enterprise. Just like the design, the lines, it's sleek. It's whenever you think Star Trek, that's usually the ship that comes to mind, either that or the Enterprise D, because they're the ones that are out there the most. But definitely a big fan of the Constitution refit. The other one I would have to definitely say would be the Enterprise E. From the Next Generation movies. It's a long, sleek design. It has the captain's yacht, which you see in Insurrection, which is just a really neat feature. Definitely, if I, and also just the advancements that they talk about with the Enterprise E in First Contact. You have some Borg technology that's kind of snuck in there. I think the Enterprise E had like kind of the gel packs that that were pioneered on Voyager, on the Intrepid class. I think it had some kind of similar system to that. And then of course. Who could forget in Star Trek Insurrection whenever they are, they're doing the battle in the Briar Patch, and you're used to just the Starship Con, the whole board sitting, with the helmsman sitting there with the touch screen and everything, and all of a sudden Riker's like, "Oh, I need manual control," and this little dinky joystick comes up out of the floor. It's kind of comical, but it's really cool that that you had that feature in it. So yeah, that I think that kind of sums up what my two favorites are. Now, I will put out an honorable mention. Kind of is the Titan. Not the original Titan, whenever Riker took command, that we see in Star Trek Lower Decks, but the refit Titan. And I think it's pretty easy to see the similarities with that, because they kind of bill it as a Neo-Constitution class whenever it is redone, because you kind of have you have the saucer section, which is very reminiscent of the Enterprise refit, and then the Enterprise A, the nacelles, how they are, the deflector dish, everything is very similar to that, even though it's kind of a little bit of a different design. So yeah, I think it's really all comes back to that. So Tom, what starships do you fancy?
So, let me think. So, I mean, I don't think I necessarily have a favorite. I mean, the ones I think about, I liked I just forgot it. What was it? Oh, duh. The Enterprise from the show Enterprise. I'm not good at all the numbers. I think that's what like the NX something.
It's the NX-01.
Okay. I don't know. I liked, it was kind of a arguably like a simple design, I guess. Like compared to like it's not as smooth, as like the Enterprise from the Kirk era, but I don't know. I just there was something about it I really liked. And then so this one was actually in Voyager, Star Trek Voyager, but it was only in like 2 episodes. It was a ship called the Equinox.
Oh yes.
Which it was very similar, I think. I mean, I think the what is if I think Voyager was considered intrepid.
Yes.
And this was considered a Nova class.
Right. The Nova class were primarily used as like scientific short range expedition. They were smaller, less armed.
And I pulled this picture up here for reference, because that's good for a audio.
Yeah, everyone, if you please look at Tom's screen right now, you'll see multiple pictures of the Equinox.
If you're listening, you'll look at my iPad here. But it's kind of similar to Voyager. The way the nacelles are kind of attached to the back kind of reminds you of like the Enterprise. But there's just something about like the sleekness and then the way the front kind of comes to 2 points makes it like kind of aggressive to me. And I don't know. But
what's kind of interesting about and I just never saw it until right now, is the Equinox and the Nova class are kind of have a similarity to, because if there would have been an Enterprise season 5, they would have actually introduced an upgraded NX-01, where they would have actually had a separate engineering section with the nacelles coming from that. So the Equinox kind of looks like that because it has the deflector dish built into the saucer, and then you have with the small star drive section with the nacelles. And we actually do get to see, it's in Star Trek Picard at the Fleet Museum, you do see the upgraded, modified NX-01.
Okay.
It is in one of the space docks.
Okay.
So it's kind of, they did make it canon, even though Enterprise ended before they got to that point, but there was a lot of talk of Season 5 going a little bit further and seeing the transition between the NX-01 and what would eventually down the road become the Constitution class.
Okay. And it's funny, I was just thinking about this, and I'm not finding any good photo of it, but actually the Equinox Nova class, whatever, was actually originally designed when they were trying to design the Defiant. When they were doing the original, I watched the video on it. It was like a behind the scenes for Deep Space Nine, and they were talking about how they wanted, it was the one time, like the Defiant, which is one I think is cool. I don't know if it's one of my favorites, but like the way that the Defiant was it was the one Federation ship that was like kind of built for aggression. All the other ships had weapon capabilities, but they were primarily they were not the the Federation was not an army at this point. Like, or is not an army.
No,
but
no, it's. I mean, they say, well, the Defiant was Starfleet's first strictly built warship, but then, even though it's not canon, you go to prequel to Axanar, and they talk about the Akira class, and it's like, well, the Akira class was Starfleet's first purpose-built warship, but I think the Defiant, it's bare bones. Whenever they introduce her in Deep Space Nine, the Defiant is hard bunk beds. Officers might have a little bit more room. They have their own little staterooms. And I say little, it's a closet with a bed. The galley is bare bones. It kind of, the galley, it reminds you kind of like a Klingon bird of prey with its sparse interior, because, the Klingons are not building anything for comfort.
Yeah. It's funny, like, I've seen designs of it. We were going to get into this a little later, but the sick bay is just like a guy and 3 beds. But, and then I guess, I don't know, if I had to pick another one, like, I don't know, I really like the Titan, like you said, from Picard. And I guess I liked the sleekness, almost like streamlined of, is it the Enterprise E that was in the new Next Generation movies?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
And then you do see they do have the Enterprise F. Which is, if you look at it, it's like a beefed up Enterprise E. It's a lot bigger. It's more powerful, and then, of course, at the end, you do see the Enterprise G at the end of Star Trek Picard. I'm not going to put any spoilers in there, but just to say, you do get to see the new Enterprise at the end of that series. And then we do get to see Dorn Enterprise. We get to see the Enterprise J, which is just a weird design. It's essentially flat. It's huge. There's not many.
Oh wow!
Yeah, not many decks. It's not very tall. It's just flat. It's just like you took a starship and then like a smash burger. You just smash it just down. And then, here's your starship. It'll take you 4 days to walk across it, and you go up like 3 decks, and you're from bottom to top. I'm sure it's bigger than that, but then also, the Enterprise J is also during the Temporal Wars and everything, so I'm sure it was purpose built for that.
And you know what? One more. I know that it's no. I'm sorry. From the Kelvin timeline, I liked the USS Kelvin itself. I don't know, it was like the way it was like a saucer section and just one engine. It looked to me like it looked unique, but at the same time highly impractical. In Voyager they made such a big deal about how that ship was not meant to land on a planet. And I'm like, there's no way the Kelvin is like that's just gonna crash and burn. Like, it's, even if there's a way for it to land, it's gonna be top heavy and just topple over.
True. And I think if you look at a lot of there's a ton online, but you look at everything that's around Kirk's time at the original series, it's just like, okay, the Constitution class is a battle cruiser, and it has 2 nacelles, a saucer section, a star drive section, your classic starship design. Then you have like a heavy battle cruiser with a 3rd nacelle, and then you go down. It's like, okay, and then we have a frigate, and it's like the Kelvin. It's like the saucer section with 1 nacelle, and then go in between, like, okay, and then we have this what's considered a light cruiser, and it's got like 2 nacelles, but not a star drive section and a saucer section. So, it's just really interesting how they were presented with Starfleet's designs and its evolution and everything over time. Now, I will say, because we do get to see a lot of variations of the original Enterprise over all the series, because of course we see the 1966 Enterprise, and then whenever we go back to the Calvin, we get to see the reimagined Enterprise of the same design, and then in Strange New Worlds we get to see it yet again. It's same basic concept, but it's like, how do you take something that Gene Roddenberry came up in 1966 and then still make it look like, sleek and modern, but still with that basic classic design and everything? So, everything in Star Trek goes back to the original Constitution class starships, and we see many of them in the original series. We see the Lexington, we see the Yorktown, we see the Enterprise. Of course, we never see it, but it's all based on the original Constitution, the NCC 1700. So, it's you get to see a lot of it, and I think Next Generation does a good job of we see a couple more different kinds of starships then, but I think it's really Deep Space Nine. You get to see a lot of starship designs coming and going from Deep Space Nine, but really during the Dominion War, it's essentially the class that the Reliant is. I think it's the Madeira class.
Sorry, what you said it was the
USS Reliant. It's
USS
it's in
Reliant.
Star Trek Wrath of Khan.
Oh, yes, okay.
Yeah, that ship, I mean, you see a lot of those in the background, in the Excelsior class.
I was getting ready to say Excelsior.
Yep, you see a lot of those in Deep Space Nine during the Dominion War, and it's just like, these are starships that, are, decades old, but they just keep being refit and upgraded and everything. To keep them relevant. And, of course, it's a lot easier to take an old starship and do a refit than to build a whole brand new one. And during the Dominion War, Starfleet's forced into that position so that they can, still be able to, put fleets into action. So,
So I guess before we keep going, would you say? Because I don't know if I really hate any starship design. I will say there is one I do hate. I do not enjoy. I don't think there's ever been. Maybe it was in a flash forward episode of Next Generation. I'm gonna see if I can find it real quick. But they're medical ships. If you Google it, I guess it's called. It's a Solace class. I'm looking at a couple that said that they're named USS Pasture or the.
I think one of them was originally one of the USS Defiance, actually, too.
Maybe
it was. I believe they were they were sometime around. I don't know if they were pre NX-01 or post NX-01. But they were still very early on, and there is an episode of Next Generation which you don't see it, but they talk about it. I think it's the one where it crashed on a planet, and there's a couple entities that take over, like Troy, O'Brien, and Data, and they're supposedly from that ship, but they're actually not.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just something. Assuming that I don't know where this falls in the timeline. But just, I don't know, something about it. It's just it's big and bulky. The weird round sphere with the back of it almost looks like what are they called? Sand crawlers that the Jawas use.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Every time I see it, I'm just oh, look away. But,
yeah, it's kind of a weird star drive section.
And then for me, I don't hate it. It's probably my least favorite. Is it the Enterprise D from the Next Generation? Yeah. It's not that it's a bad design, bad. It's just for me, it seems very bulky, and I will say that, and the way that it can separate to two sections, and I know the way it's built, because the idea, as I understand it, was that it was meant for the crew, but they could also have families on the ship.
Right. It was meant for long-range exploration, science. The Galaxy class it's interesting. The Galaxy class were really put out there to be a lot of different things, but yeah, they were built for have a lot of people.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
So yeah, and I would say of all the enterprises, it would probably be the one that I like the least. But that's not really saying much because even the Enterprise B, which was an Excelsior class, you had the Enterprise C, which is eluding me which class of ship that is right now, but it was very similar to what you would look as your traditional starship design.
Is it the Enterprise B or the Enterprise C where everything's coming on Tuesday?
Enterprise B.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah, Star Trek Generations.
So I'm sure it's like the hardcore because I'm a pretty big Star Trek fan. I mean, like not as much as like I haven't seen all the shows. I'm not like as super familiar with it. So like I'm sure a lot of like the hardcore long-term fans will disagree. But like I don't know, it's so dumb, but I find that intro so funny. Just the way that like they especially since the captain who, yes, they should have a little deep tangent here, but the captain being like, we're not equipped to go after them. And Kirk's like, we have to. So they go, and then it's just like, we don't have weapons. We don't have transports. We don't have, and I don't know. It's just,
yeah.
Sorry, it's dumb, but it's hysterical to me. Tuesday.
Yeah, I think it's whoever the writing of that. I don't know if it was still Rick Berman or not during that movie, but it's like you have James T. Kirk, who's one of the most celebrated captains in Starfleet, next to just this guy, who's the captain of the Enterprise B, and I'm sorry, I can't remember his name off the top of my head. And even the actor who plays him, he kind of plays like more comedic roles and everything. But it's just like the Enterprise captain went from James T. Kirk to just this dude who, I don't know, do you send him back to Starfleet Academy for like a refresher course, or maybe give him a ship where everything is there? But anyway, yeah, Tom, I don't think that I have a starship design that I really don't like. To be honest with you, I'm not really a big fan of the USS Defiant.
Okay.
But you know what? I'm going to be honest. The reason that I'm not a big fan of it is because it is so not a conventional starship design. So, and I do knock Discovery in past episodes. However, I will say, whenever I think it's season 3, it's season 3. Whenever the Discovery's in the future and they locate and rejoin Starfleet. And whenever they're coming into Starfleet headquarters, it shows you all these futuristic starships that have experimental propulsion systems, different designs based on needs and everything. Like you have, I guess there's USS Nog, there's a Voyager J, I think, that's mixed in. That still kind of pays homage to the original Intrepid class, but is obviously a new ship. And I think Discovery, that's one of the cool things whenever they went into the future, is it shows you, it's like, okay guys, we've kind of kept a basic idea of what a starship is through all these other series. Have at it. We're going to give you a couple scenes where you can create whatever you want of what a future starship is, and I think they deliver very nice because they're just all so different.
Okay. Sorry. So going back just for a minute to the Enterprise B, the captain was John Harriman, which to be honest, I didn't know he had a name.
He did. He actually did.
But I can't find it. But I thought he was also in a video game because they had a couple. There was 3 of them. 3 Star Trek, I think they were computer games. One was an Enterprise focused one. One was a Klingon focused one. And then there's another one. I know it's a little tangent, but if you guys have a chance, look up Star Trek Borg. You play as a cadet who so the ship you're on is getting ready to encounter a Borg cube, and the cadet is the son of one of the ships that was destroyed at Wolf 359.
Okay.
And the ship he's on are sending all the cadets off. He asks to stay to fight the Borg. They say no, and he's about to pack his bags. And who else but Q should show up and present him the opportunity to go back in time and try to save his dad? And
you can't mess with the timeline.
Oh, and John Delancey. I mean, again, this is not the point of the video, but John Delancey sells it. He's hysterical. But anyways, sorry, to tie it into, there was these 3 games, and this guy was on it. And when you were talking about Defiant, I've only seen clips of Deep Space Nine, but as I understand it, I don't know if you've watched all of it or not.
I have.
Okay. When Defiant came out, like, it was supposed to be like one of a at that point it was like a one of a kind ship.
It was when it was introduced. It was a prototype that they couldn't quite figure out how to make it work, and they kind of mothballed it until Cisco, who had a hand in the project, went and got it. I believe it was a small ship, and it was overpowered. And of course, Chief O'Brien goes in and fixes it in like half an episode.
Yeah, I saw in interviews the writers kept saying someone joked about it in the writers' room, and then even in the Star Trek universe, they were like, I think it was in First Contact, where they're like, it's a tough little ship. But
yeah, and we do see another USS Defiant. I forget the name of it. It was an episode of Deep Space Nine. It's where Red Squad, the elite Starfleet cadets, they get their own Defiant class ship, and it ends badly. But I think it was kind of a play off of it. I don't know if it was Reliant or something like that.
Yeah, it was. I know what you're talking about, because actually that's funny now too that you say that, because it was a ship that was ran completely by cadets, right?
Yes, correct.
But then also I know I've seen the scene where sorry, I'm gonna see if I can look up the name of that Defiant you were talking about. But like
of course, we do see the USS Defiant in the mirror universe a couple times that Cisco crosses over. They build it. They build a USS Defiant in not in the Cal, but in the mirror universe in order to take down the I think it's an empire which is like Cardassians and Klingons, because Worf is like the Emperor, Supreme Chancellor, or whatever he is.
Yeah, so actually, you know what? I vaguely remember that too. So I can't find the name of that other ship, but what I was going to say was so the Defiant, one of a kind. It's a prototype. But then there's also one ran by cadets. But also, I don't know how many episodes are in between, but the Defiant gets destroyed, and then
that's right. And then there's a third one because they get another Defiant.
Oh yeah, they're like the only difference is I think that one has a red carpet. And they're like, this is the USS Sao Paulo, something like that. And they're like, oh, look at this. Here's a letter. Call it Defiant. Just like, oh, that's convenient. But and it was the only ship with like it was a Romulan cloaking device.
It was they had Starfleet had partnered with the Romulans, because there was a Romulan officer on board to operate the cloaking device, and it was the only Federation starship that was allowed to have one, but they couldn't use it in the Alpha Quadrant. They could only use it in the Gamma Quadrant.
Okay. So, going along the same discussion of, starships in the Star Trek universe, one thing that drives me nuts, personally, and it's probably just me.
We'll see.
Is the bridge designs.
I believe you are the only person out there that it bothers.
There is a website. I don't remember what it's called. If I Googled it, I can find it. Doesn't matter. And the website basically has like a breakdown it's like a design of the bridge, and then it tells you which station does what. And again, this doesn't matter to anybody else probably. But and like I said, I learned in one of those video games I talked about earlier, where they're like, oh yeah, any console can be refit to do anything. And it's just one of those things that really just that's why I enjoy, I think, Voyager so much, because every station has a specific purpose.
Right.
I mean, I guess I don't have that much to say. I just it's like in the Defiant. I'm like, I like the idea of the tight little ship. And it's like, okay, well, they're firing weapons over here, they're firing weapons over there. And I don't know. It doesn't matter to anybody else but me, probably. But that being said, do you even have a favorite bridge design? Or at least, we'll start with favorites. Do you have a favorite design, Adam?
It's not that I have a favorite design of a bridge. I think each of them is unique in its own way. I have to go back where I really do like the bridge of the Enterprise A, specifically the Enterprise A, not the refit Enterprise. And that's the bridge that we see in Star Trek V and Star Trek VI.
Okay.
I do like that because you have the one captain's chair. All the other officers are kind of behind him on an elevated level. And then you have the helm and navigation in front of him. So classic, but sleek, modern. Then you have the Defiant, that again, single captain's chair. Mm-hmm. And then you have like the Enterprise D that has the 3 chairs. And then you have Voyager that has 2 chairs and like a bench. So that's kind of interesting. I do like Voyager's bridge on how it's laid out because it's still fairly big and everything. I will say I like how Discovery's bridge kind of looks. But the one thing that's you see in Discovery and you see in Strange New Worlds is this shiny glass floor that seems to be like the modern starship look based on all the new series and everything. Not that I was a big fan of the Enterprise's D's carpet, but that's what I grew up on. It's like, well, why wouldn't a starship bridge have carpet? Well, because it's really hard to get stains out. In as much time that people are flying around the bridge for any reason, you have that, but where they've taken things with the shiny floors and the different colors and stuff, you see that on the Titan, you see it on Discovery, you see it even Strange New Worlds whenever they have like the new Enterprise's bridge. They kind of do a little bit of weird stuff with the floors, and yeah, it's kind of weird. I'm focused. You focus on the layout of where the ships, the different stations are, and it's just like, what about the floor? Maybe that's just because maybe that's just because I work for a local school district, and I just spent the last 2 days waxing floors, so maybe I just got that on my mind or something. So, and I can't say I'm nitpicking a little bit, but every single one is really cool. I kind of like, believe it or not, no lower decks, the Cali class, the California class. The bridge, even though it is animated, it's kind of cool too. It kind of pays homage. You have a little bit of the Enterprise D's bridge layout mixed in with the a Constitution classes a little bit. The one thing is a lot different. I just remember it was in Star Trek Picard. Whenever Worf is comparing the stations, the bridge, the tactical layout on the Enterprise E was superior to the Enterprise D because it had X, Y, and Z and everything. Leave it to Worf to kind of be like, I like this layout better than the other ones, and everyone else is like, Worf, just shut up and deal with it.
I'm kind of jumping all over the place today. Maybe this isn't new to anybody else. And listeners, definitely not new to Adam. But when we were talking about the Defiant, I just thought it was worth noting. You talked about a mirror episode. That's actually, I mean, technically it was aired first. So technically it's the first of 2 mirror universe Defiants. Because if you remember in Enterprise, they did that mirror universe episode where the NX-01 stumbled upon, it was essentially like the set design and everything. It was the Enterprise from the original series.
It was,
but it was named the Defiant. I'm sure there were differences.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was the Enterprise. It was definitely a Constitution class.
I just know that the bridge specifically, I know looked just like identical to it, because like I remember the kind of like the humor where like the Archer puts on like the green shirt that Kirk wears, and
because it's interesting because you see you have the original series, you see the bridge of the Enterprise all through that series, and then there's the like 5-minute segment in the Next Generation episode with Scotty, where he goes into the holodeck and it has the old bridge there. Mm-hmm. And then in Enterprise, they have that bridge, they have that starship and bridge again. So it's like you got to pay homage to the original.
Yeah. Oh, and the original is great too. And then the Defiant with the weird computer like screens next to the captain's chair. Like what are those for? Not the point. Anyways, bridge. So okay, all right. So I like the Titan. I like the sleek design. Mm-hmm. I like the 3 chairs. I don't know why. I did. I mean, I like the 3 chairs in. Even though I said it's not my favorite ship, I like the 3 chair look in the Next Generation.
Yeah.
If I had to pick one that I would want to be on, like if I was like the captain of a ship, I don't remember which movie it is, but I liked the idea. One of the Enterprises, one of the original series movies, where Kirk's chair like swivels around so he can like directly talk or whatever at any like specific station. It's a dumb thing that no one else cares about, but I was like, that's so why shouldn't you be able to turn and look at somebody?
The barber chair.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Now, which is interesting, I'll just it's in the end of Star Trek Nemesis. And I think I don't know if it's the alternate ending that they have. It's not the theater release ending, but they have an upgraded captain's chair on the Enterprise E for Picard. And it's if the ship hits any kind of distortions or loses inertial dampeners or is in battle or something, it's a freaking like seatbelt that like goes around his waist and up over his shoulders, and Picard is like, it's about time. It's just funny. We were talking about just the evolution of the captain's chair from someone obviously stole it off from a barber shop and painted it and put some new padding on it, and then you have the Enterprise E or D's, which are like these big like lazy boy command chairs, and then everything. Yeah, the one thing I will say, the Titan. And I think it's just, however the producers and however people are looking at it, is the bridge is so dark.
Yeah.
It's like, did they forget to pay the light bill?
Well, it's funny that you talk about how dark that is, because I was just thinking...
Discovery's is kind of dark, too, a little bit.
But isn't there, like, an in-universe reason? Doesn't the captain have, like, some sort of, like, there's something wrong with his eyes, so, like, it has to be dark?
That was, in Discovery, that was Captain Luca.
Okay.
Because he was from the Mirror Universe, and because of where they were at with their headquarters was powered by a star, so everybody there, their eyes were, like, really, really sensitive. That was the
okay.
That's the reason that they gave for that. I think they ran out of money with the set and just didn't have enough lighting or something. I don't know.
Maybe. But, it's funny. So you talked about the Titan, the deck being too dark. The Enterprise in the Kelvin timeline way too shiny.
Oh my
Just
goodness!
Like
Yeah.
it's funny. I know that J.J. Abrams loves the lens flares, and you've seen videos where like he's intentionally adding them, but like I feel like even in universe that would be terrible. Just constantly lights in your eyes every direction. Like,
Yeah.
there's no way anybody is seeing anything.
Let's
on that
add a
bridge.
backlight to the dash, and then we'll add another backlight to that backlight.
Although similarly to that deleted scene in Nemesis, I was going to say the seat belts. They I believe it was in Star Trek Into Darkness that there was the same thing that all the stations had seatbelts on them. I think there was when the Enterprise was almost crashed into.
Oh yeah,
Earth.
that's when the Revenge, or I forgot what the other starship was that they had built.
Oh yeah, the one Peter Weller's ship, RoboCop's. I don't know the character's name, but
Yeah, Admiral. Yeah.
what was the dot? Because
Yeah, his daughter was Carol, Kirk's girlfriend, fling.
because I believe it was supposed to be the same character
Marcus,
as
Admiral Marcus.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
We were going to get there at some point.
Yeah.
I'm impressed with myself. We did not have to Google that.
I don't know. Is there anything else? I guess to say
Oh,
about like ships, bridge designs, or just anything about them? I don't know. I don't know. I thought I had something, but now I don't remember.
Come to think of it, in Star Trek Deep Space Nine, we also saw the original Enterprise bridge. It's where the Tribble episode where they go.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, we get to see it, even though it's kind of it's that weird cinematic where you're taking original scenes and then you're inserting different people and stuff into it. But yes, we get to see the original Enterprise bridge in that one as well.
It's funny. It's funny that you bring up that episode because before we close, because I cannot remember what I was going to say about one of the bridges. I was going to ask you, because I meant to bring it up last episode, what you thought about like the all the uniforms in the Star Trek universe. I know,
Oh, my
because this is a wild conversation, subject. Let's see.
Well, I will tell you the one thing that was annoying in Star Trek Generations, which I knew. That film was pretty low budget. But how they had the Deep Space Nine Deep Space Nine uniforms, and then also the Next Generation uniforms, like coexisting, was really weird. And I just saw as Tom was, Googling Star Trek uniforms. I'll tell you, the first season or two of Next Generation, the skirts that the men wore,
it's
was
a little
weird.
I mean, maybe in the future, but still.
I'm glad that they finally got rid of those.
But what made me think of the uniforms is that in that Deep Space Nine episode, there was the joke about that they dressed in the era appropriate, but then it
was Dax and the women wore less.
I think she was in the skirt, but somebody made a comment about how it's the doctor. The doctor makes the comment that Dax and O'Brien are in the wrong colors.
Oh, Cisco and O'Brien, yes.
Yes.
And it's because they switch colors sometime in between. Well, here's the thing that you also have to realize is, we have the color-coded uniforms in the original series. And then in Star Trek The Motion Picture, everyone is wearing either the white or gray pajamas, which are horrible.
In my opinion, definitely the worst ones.
And then you have, which are my favorite uniforms that they've ever put out, is in the Star Trek movies 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, and what they wore, the old cast and Generations, is the red uniforms with the black pants, the belts, the kind of the over-the-shoulder rank insignia. I love those uniforms. And then all of a sudden, then Next Generation comes out, and you're back to the color-coded again. Mm-hmm. And then Discovery, those blue uniforms seem to like just come out of nowhere. There's really no. It's like, yeah, Discovery. There's half of Starfleet wears these blue uniforms, and then the other half is still color coded uniforms. There's never really an explanation on that. If there was, I completely missed it or tuned it out.
Well, so what made me think about that was, when you were talking about in Generations, how the Deep Space Nine Voyager uniforms were in there, like
It was because of the budget and everything.
but they're costumes taken off the set. Like, if you remember, Riker's is so small because it's actually Cisco's, and so the sleeves don't even go long enough. And
I will say the end of Deep Space Nine and the Star Trek First Contact, Nemesis and Insurrection, I do really like those uniforms. The gray with the different the kind of like the Dickie turtleneck is the different colors for the command and stuff. But I really like the Admiral's uniforms in that version, because they are the really cool ones, because they have like the belt that goes around with a big gold.
Oh, you're right.
Big gold like Starfleet insignia buckle on them and everything. They look sharp, and I think it's because it's kind of goes back to the original series cast episodes. So
I never really understood. I mean, granted, the Star Trek timeline, I'm not even going to try to break it down.
So if we want to have some time with all that, as well as all the temporal anomalies and different timelines and everything, my wife absolutely hates time travel when it comes to Star Trek, and it's fun. We'll have to see if I can get her onto one of the episodes, and we're going to bring up time travel and just listen to a 20-minute tangent on that.
So I never understood why the uniforms changed so often, and then also in some cases so drastically. But then I saw a video one time. It was a channel called Lore Reloaded that does deep dives into Star Trek, the ship designs, and and he posed something that I actually thought was interesting and maybe plausible. So, in Star Trek there is time travel. I don't know how often and common it is, but there is time travel.
I mean, it's fact that Starfleet does have a Bureau of Temporal Dynamics that have to come out and investigate all this stuff, then quite a bit.
Well, I was going to say, there is some, what is it called, the Temporal Time Directive or something like that?
The Temporal Prime Directive. Do nothing to change the timeline.
So what? And when you come back, you're not supposed to. They're not even supposed to acknowledge or discuss what happened.
Right. And this is a whole nother episode for us to talk about.
I don't have much to say on that. He posed an interesting idea that what if, along those same lines, it was a way for someone, whether intentionally or not, when they travel through time, to know what era they're in. If you I only say that because because also when you think about it, there's an episode of Voyager when they travel back to when Tuvok was an ensign.
Oh yeah, and they were on the Excelsior.
Yes, and he's wearing the jacket uniform that you talked about that you loved. I don't know. I mean, maybe not. Maybe it's just. Maybe there is no in-universe reason. It's just
that's a cool theory.
Sells toys.
Yeah, that too. I like it. I like that theory. I think if you really want to break it down, it's a new producer putting their stamp on the Star Trek universe, or a new costume designer that wants to have something radically different from anything else. It's just for me as a fan, it's really annoying to try to keep up. Like, okay, so this is a difference of like 4 years, and there's 3 different styles of uniform. Or the whole Discovery, where did the blue uniforms come? Not that I hate the blue uniforms. I think they're cool.
Yeah.
But why do you have them? And it's like, okay, everyone in Starfleet has this uniform. Even the admirals have this uniform. And then, boom, the Enterprise shows up with Pike, and he is in the more classic uniform. Okay, so if this is, if this is the same time period that this is all going on, then why is their uniform different? I'm sure there's a reason. So, well, I don't think we need to go down rabbit holes too much more. There's definitely a couple more, definitely whole episodes that we can branch off of this conversation. I mean, just the temporal mechanics whenever it comes to the Star Trek universe, which really sets it apart from pretty much any other spacefaring sci-fi series. Because Star Wars, I mean, if you introduce time travel to Star Wars, which you kind of have a little bit in, but it's with like Force flashbacks and Force ghosts and everything. Battlestar Galactica, I mean, Babylon 5, they don't really have much time travel and stuff. But Star Trek, really, that's like their thing that they own. And hey, it's this, we're going to start something new. We're just going to have time travel, and there's going to be something that changes in the timeline, and boom, we could go wherever the heck we want with it. Henceforth, the Calvian timeline.
So, believe it or not, we have listener feedback. No emails. Besides someone that I'm pretty sure is a scam who really wants us to join some sort of podcast coalition. I have not responded for obvious reasons.
Sounds like a federation of podcasters.
That may be. So I want to go back because this actually came in June and I had already responded to it. But I hope this is still recording. It looks like it. Okay. So we got a message from Wes. And Wes said, this was June 7th, he says, "Hey, forgot to message, caught up on the podcast. Thought the discussion about the colors was really interesting," in reference to the lightsaber video we did, which unintentionally brought up again. Also love that you're a fan of Corin Horn. He is really cool. Have you read or listened to the new Jedi Order books? I ended up responding. Next time if something like this happens, I'll bring it on the show. But I just thought it was cool that someone is listening. But then also, while we were recording, I got our second piece of feedback. And hold on, where is it? Haley, also known as my wife, says, "BTW, listening to your last episode, Adam saying Megazoid instead of Megazord is giving me the ick."
That's probably my Western Pennsylvanian accent or whatever. Yes, I must apologize to Haley. I did mispronounce that. It is Megazoid, not Megazord.
No, it is Megazord.
Oh, it is Megazord. See, here's I don't know. I think it kind of goes back to Zoids. I forgot what the TV show that was. That it was all different Zoids that were different animals and stuff. It was whenever I was in high school. But anyway, so Megazord. So let's put that and correct that right now.
Every once in a while, there's one or two. Like you really love to say the Kelvian timeline instead of Kelvin, and I don't care. I'm not gonna sit here and rag on you.
There's a listener out there that probably does.
Oh, I'm sure they do too. But
the Kelvin timeline. Yes. Why did I say Kelvin? I don't know.
Yeah, but anyways, I don't know. Maybe this would be a fun thing. Maybe it would encourage engagement. Like, hey, if you email us or send us a message on Facebook, actually,
or correct some of Adam's pronunciations,
or something. I don't know. I just or like if you guys comment on YouTube or even leave a review on Apple, we'll read it. Be part of the show.
All right, here's a challenge. I want someone to go back and listen to all of our episodes and come up with a list of things that I have mispronounced throughout the entire thing.
I don't think there's really been that many.
You'd be surprised.
Well, anyways, unless you got anything else to say, I think we're going to wrap up now.
Please do.
Okay. All right. So, if you are watching us on YouTube, like and subscribe. Leave a comment down below on your opinion on best, worst starships.
Are you a fan of carpet or not on Starship?
Sure, yeah, carpets. And do you have a favorite or least favorite bridge design? If you are on Apple, jeez, holy cow. You think I'd have this down by now. Apple, Spotify, Amazon, pretty much anywhere except for YouTube Music, and iHeartRadio. Follow, rate, and review. If you want to email us, which please do, we are twoguysnocreds@gmail.com. We are on Facebook as Two Guys Questionable Credentials. And yeah, let us know what you want to see next. It kind of seems like people have been less interested since we kind of went off from doing Star Wars, Star Trek content. So I think we're going to try to keep that going. Maybe we'll do another Star Trek video or two, and then maybe it might be a fun, we did that episode with, favorite characters. Maybe it'd be cool to either do a sequel, or maybe even, pick a character, take turns doing, deep dives into origins, backstory. That's the same thing. But anyways, I rambled on too long. Thank you guys, and we'll see you next time.
All right, that's the show. Thanks for hanging out with us for another episode of Two Guys Questionable Credentials. If you laughed, learned something, or are now somehow more confused than when you started, then we've done our job. Be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and tell a friend or an enemy. We're not picky. And remember, everything discussed here is just conversation, speculation, and two people confidently wandering through topics they may or may not fully understand. Please take none of this as legal, medical, or emotional advice. We'll see you next time.